Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the absolute, you have the deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders. Hey, all you minties! Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And it is time for Justice! That's right. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Justice League by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV, Omnibus Volume 1 from DC Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. So what we're looking at here is the latest Justice League Omnibus from DC Comics. We are looking at Justice League by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV, Omnibus Volume 1. That's right. The solicits have changed for this one, so I will be talking about what exactly is collected in this book. But the very first thing I want to talk about it's this beautiful cover. Oh my gosh, I love Jorge Jimenez. I think he is such a phenomenal artist and just kept getting better and better since I first saw him in the pages of like Super Sons and then eventually this. And then, of course, he went on to do Batman. And now he seems to be the Batman artist that people love working with. So really quick, before reading this, I know I've been asked, like, what do you read before reading any of this? You could read the DC Metal. That kind of spins off into this series, and it kind of spins off into a couple of other Justice Leagues. But before you go and read the other Justice League, No Justice has to be read, which is included in here 1 through 4. And not 100%, but it does help when you find out, you know, what exactly Justice League Odyssey is. And I'll be talking a little bit more about this when I look at the book. And then, of course, what this big book is, Justice League Dark. Now, this is the Rebirth Omni, not the New 52 Omni. And I guess let's go ahead while we have the dust jacket on before we look at the back and everything. Where does it fit into the reading order of Justice League? It goes right after the New 52 because there is no Omni for the Brian Hitch stuff or Christopher Priest era. So yes, in case you have the oversized hardcovers, it does go right after the Christopher Priest book, which is considered volume 4 of the Rebirth Deluxe editions. Now, let's say you just want to keep it with the Scott Snyder stuff. So yes, it goes in between DC Metal and Death Metal, but we do need a volume 2, which is solicited and coming out later in 2025. Or you could put it with the rest of the Justice League Rebirth books. So yes, next to the Justice League Dark. Regardless, it is up to you where you want to put it on your shelf. But it is finally here. We have the new DC logo, the bullet logo. Everything old is new. Something borrowed, something blue. Whoa. Yeah, that actually makes sense. The back of the book here, giving you a little bit about what this is, and the ISBN down here with the retail price of $125. And some pieces here by Francis Manapul and Jimmy Chung. By the way, the first 1.5 volumes of the deluxe editions are what's collected in here. But this does have more of the Drowned Earth stories, plus No Justice. No Justice was never collected in an oversized hardcover. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But it is just like the first volume and half of volume 2. And then volume 2 will collect the rest of this in oversized hardcover format and Omni format. And then underneath, we do have this beautiful piece by Jim Chung. But before we look at that, let's look over here. And the bio on Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV. And a picture of Superman and Wonder Woman. So yes, this is the core group right here by Jim Chung. You have Martian Manhunter, Hawkgirl, and you've got John Stewart, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Aquaman, Batman, and Superman, and of course Flash. And then the spine of the book looking very similar to the spine of the actual dust jacket. Except it's got more of a blue tint down there. And then the back is so freaking cool because that is Doug Mankey's take on the Justice League. But we're looking at the Legion of Doom, like Cheetah and Gorilla Grodd and Black Manta and Joker and Lex Luthor and, of course, Sinestro. So it gives you a small glimpse as to what to expect in this book and a little bit of the art. All right. We talked about where it fits into the shelf. Now, let's talk about the actual contents of the book. What is collected in here. We'll open up, look at the art, and talk about the stories. And then, of course, the extras and build. All right, let's go ahead and open it up. You'll have your end sheets here with that team, and your end sheets over here with this team. And we're looking at different teams here. And I'll explain what that means here in a second. Justice League by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV, Omnibus Volume 1. And then, of course, all of the credits, including the writers, which are not just James Tynion and Scott Snyder, but also Dan Abnett for that crossover with Aquaman, and then Joshua Williamson, who wrote some of the parts in No Justice, Jim Chung, Jorge Jimenez, Juan Albaran, Clayton Henry, Francis Manapul, Gillian March, Lan Medina, Howard Porter. Man, I love his artwork, and his art in here is awesome. Doug Mankey coming back to do some of the art, and then you have Jeremy Cox and Sonny Go and Francis Manapul and Marcelo Maiola doing some of the colors along with everyone else here. And you have N-World Designs, Tom Napolitano and Dave Sharp and Steve Wands doing the lettering. You do have a table of contents here, and there are numbers on the pages, so worry not. The table of contents does come in handy, or you could get a bookmark. But yes, this officially kicks off with material from DC Nation number 0. Just a few pages. So collected in here is Aquaman 41 and 42, Aquaman Justice League Drowned Earth number 1, Justice League 1 through 18, Justice League Annual number 1, Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth number 1, not to be confused with Aquaman Justice League Drowned Earth 1, and Justice League No Justice 1 through 4. Titans 28, and then that story from DC Nation number 0, this one right here. And the book, again, retails for $125, and it has 776 pages. So I believe at first they mentioned that it was going to collect like the Batman Who Laughs miniseries, but that's been moved to Volume 2. So they did expand some of it with the Drowned Earth, and I'll explain a little bit what Drowned Earth is. But first of all, we need to start with this really confusing but beautifully drawn DC Nation story, where you have these characters right here on Kolu, which is the home world of Brainiac, that are trying to take Batman out. And he's like, oh, we've got different Justice Leagues. We've got Justice League Team Entropy. We've got Justice League Team Mystery. We've got Justice League Team Wonder and Team Wisdom. And what in the world does any of that mean? And what does Amanda Waller and Green Arrow have planned on Earth while everyone else seems to be on that home world of Brainiac? And who are these big 4 freaking gods that are approaching? So here we go. So I will say, before reading this, as I mentioned, you can read the events that happened in the DC Metal. You don't have to, because I think this does a good job of explaining it, but it also, this is the beginning of the setup for things to come in the DC Death Metal. So the volumes 1 and 2 happen between Metal and Death Metal, and I know that can get a little confusing. This is why I do reading orders. All right, spoilers for some of the things that happened in the event Metal, just in case, okay? All right, so in that event, we had Barbados, the Batman, the ultimate Batman from another dimension. He eventually was, of course, defeated. How, I'm not going to let you find out, or I'll let you find out for yourself. I'm not going to spoil that. But once that energy that defeated him ripped through the universe, what it did is it broke the entire damn universe. And I love the fact that Guy Gardner is the one that said, you and your friends broke the source wall. And that's pretty much what happens in No Justice. We have the source wall has now a crack, and it's opened up this multiverse and dark multiverse. Things are now coming through. So there's a new evil that could be coming through that we've never heard of. So while the source wall is being studied, I'm going to go back and forth here, we have Brainiac, who seems to be attacking the heroes of Earth. And he's taking them down quite easy. However, there is a plan to his madness. He says that I don't come here for a fight. I come here to become allies. We need to bring together all of the galaxy's greatest heroes and villains, because there are bigger monsters to fight, and we need these bigger monsters because the Omega Titans are coming. So the Omega Titans, as he explains, are these 4 forces that are behind that wall. You have Entropy, Wisdom, Wonder, and Mystery. They're kind of like 4 brothers that have a like a little bit of a gamble, if you will. And that gamble involves absorbing universes. So now his home world is being attacked. Brainiac's home planet is being attacked. That's why we see Batman at the very beginning here. So it doesn't make any sense at first, right? In that Nation one-shot where he's on Kolu. But it's because it's being absorbed. And that's why the Justice League is there. So yes, the whole idea behind this is to go back to Kolu and fight off these Omega Titans, whatever they may be. And each of the groups is attached to a Titan, like based on the energy. So it becomes really cool because you have like the Team Wonder, the Team Mystery, the Team Wisdom, and the Team Entropy. So you've got like Superman and Starfire and Martian Manhunter are going after the Team Mystery, Batman, Beast Boy, and Deathstroke, and other characters, of course, that end up joining them. Will go after Entropy, and then you got Zatanna, Etrigan, and Wonder Woman going against all the Wonder, of course that makes sense, and Flash, Cyborg, and Harley Quinn, and others will go against Wisdom. Now, this is the plan, right? They go to Kolu, and of course, what ends up happening is that Amanda Waller, again, some spoilers for the pitch of this, and then we'll get to talk about Justice League and how all this is set up. But Amanda Waller is getting the greatest psychic in the world because she wants to know, what does Brainiac know? Why did he kidnap all of our Earth's heroes? And what ends up happening when all the psychics start attacking and trying to extract information from Brainiac, well, it takes him out of commission. So now the heroes are left alone. Some of them are getting put in stasis modes, and eventually these 4 Omega Titans are going to come and destroy our entire universe, including our Earth. And that's what this 4-issue miniseries is. So, and I'm not going to spoil everything that happens, by the way. Starro does play a big part later on. But I do need to talk about the ending of this, because the ending of this, without spoiling how they defeat the bad guys, if they do, you can find out for yourself. That's where we get the new Justice. So you have Justice League Odyssey up here with Azrael, Starfire, Cyborg, and Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern, and who the hell is that guy back there? What? Go read Odyssey. It is excellent. It's the one that's written by Joshua Williamson. Then you have Justice League Dark, again, the Rebirth Era by James Tynion. And this is Man-Bat and Zatanna, not Zatara, sorry. Wonder Woman, who's in 2 teams, by the way, Swamp Thing and Detective Chimp. And then you have this team of Justice League here. And then you have that whole story with Amanda Waller and Green Arrow. What could that possibly mean? Because that comes into play later on if Amanda Waller knows all this information. So that is the setup for these 4 different teams. So, by the way, we have beautiful, beautiful artwork here by Jim Chung. Beautiful artwork at the very beginning by Jorge Jimenez, and then, of course, Francis Manipool and others. But I'm a big fan of Jim Chung, so seeing him draw the Hall of Justice, oh! Now, the Hall of Justice is back, but it's not the only thing that's back that's going to be borrowed from that Super Friends cartoon. Here we establish the new characters, and this new thing that is happening that they're finding out. It's this new energy that they found, and it's called the Totality. And that's what the first few issues are about. But we are establishing the new villains, or the villains that will play a role. Even though they teamed up earlier, we do have some villains here, including Lex Luthor and his team. So if there's a Justice League, of course there has to be a Omega or I guess the bad side of things, and that is the Legion of Doom. They are back. So that does include Lex Luthor. But yes, this whole storyline right here has this iconic team of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. And they're trying to fight off against these advanced Neanderthals, while Martian Manhunter is focusing on, like, learning how to connect all of them telepathically, because they know they have a bigger risk that is coming. There's something big that can't... The 4 Omega Titans cannot be the only thing that is behind that wall. And sure enough, it's not, because we know, if you've read Death Metal. But it all comes to this totality. Did I say that? Yeah, totality. And why the Legion of Doom wants it, and why of course, Justice League wants it. Legion of Doom, of course, wants to use that power to kind of make their own type of green, or new type of lantern, if you will. And a lot of that is being led by none other than Sinestro. In between issues, by the way, don't freak out about the Legion of Doom stories. You'll see it here. These are properly placed. You have Legion of Doom Part 1 in between Totality Part 4 and 5. That is the way that it was released. Part 2 doesn't come until a little bit later. I think Part 2, as a matter of fact, yeah, it's Justice League 8. And then Part 3 happens in Justice League 13 after the Drowned Earth. So as you're reading this, don't freak out and think, wait a second, did I miss Part 2? Why is Part 2 over here? Oh, I got a misprint. No, it is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. Focusing, of course, on the Legion of Doom. And then we have the Drowned Earth storyline, which is the big crossover with Aquaman. Now, this is pretty much the story of Luthor and his Legion of Doom trying to unlock the 7 powers. So they're hinting at some things that are to come, like the 7 energies and 7 powers, and this thing called Perpetua, which we don't know what that is yet. But that gets explained a little bit later, and I'll talk maybe a little bit about that here in a second. But in Drowned Earth, you have, of course, Black Manta that has found out about other sea gods from other planes of existence, and he's making them rise. And one of the things that's happening is that here we have like a separation of characters. We have like Wonder Woman and Aquaman kind of being separated from the rest of the team. But this is the big attack. So this is where Poseidon and the other sea gods from across the different planes of existence are pissed. And now they are free. They were once trapped and now they're free, and they're coming to destroy and drown our Earth. And that's what this is. That's what this crossover is. This does include characters like Tide and, of course, Mira playing a huge part in all of this. And the other thing I'm going to say is that as you're reading this, you're going to come with this with two minds. Like, as you're reading this, it can get a little confusing because you have the main event that's happening, and then you have the crossover with Aquaman, and it feels like you're reading the exact same scenes playing over and over, not even from a different perspective, but just drawn by someone else, and that is completely normal. That is just part of mapping these events. Like, some people may argue that Titans does not need to be included in here because it kind of breaks the storyline up, and I'm the kind of reader that I like to read everything, and I can see why, because it kind of throws you off, right? They have very little to do with the Drowned Earth, but it does have Garth on the team, so it is nice to see them team up with Garth to try to take down these gods, these sea gods. But don't be alerted. Like, it's not that you know, it's not that you've read something already or you're going crazy. That happens quite often. It happens about 3 or 4 times as I've reread this. Like, there's a scene, and I don't want to reveal what happens, but something bad happens to Aquaman, and then the same scenes are played over just by a different artist, not even from a different perspective in the pages of Aquaman. But one of the most important things that happens in this Omni, by the way, yes, totally Jason Momoa type of cover there. But yes, one of the most important things that happens is in this Omni is the introduction of this little guy named Jarro, who will play a bigger part later on. If you know Jarro, you already know. We have more of Legion storylines, Gil and March, and how they don't really trust each other. And then we have the third story arc in here, which is the Escape from Hawk World, where John Stewart, John Johns, and of course Kendra, Hawkgirl, end up going to Hawk World to try to figure out if they can find the other Martian Manhunters that may know something about this energy and this thing called Perpetua. And this is Shara Hull, who unfortunately tells them that the Martians that they had there have passed away. But of course, not everything is as it seems, especially if this little issues are called Escape from Hawk World. We do get to see what the Earth Justice League is doing while these folks are trapped on Hawk World. And then, of course, we have the interactions between Hawkman and Hawkgirl. And Robert Venditti kind of doing his own things, simplifying things. And in this, it feels a lot like they're giving you a lot of information. Because it may seem like a Hawkman, a Hawkgirl story, but it's more of a, here's the history of the 7 energies, here's the balance between doom and justice, here's what Perpetua is, and here's what is coming. And it can be very verbose, even though I don't think Snyder writes like that, but when explaining history, you're given a lot. By the way, there's a returning character through these pages that I absolutely love from the past. And he gets to play a big part in that second storyline, really. But he sticks around for a while. And this is, by the way, Howard Porter. Just how much he's changed his art style. So that is pretty much what kind of stories you're going to find in here, what the artwork looks like. So in between chapters or in between pages, the covers are textless, so you don't really know where you are, what issue you're on, but they do tell you who the cover artist is on the variant. So sometimes the variants are on the opposite side of the standard edition. I will say, for some reason, I wish they had done this for every one of these, but when you get to No Justice 4, they actually tell you you're on No Justice 4 and the credits here. I wish they would do that with all of the covers, like after the cover, they tell you where you are. Now, you do have more variants. Those aren't the only variants that are collected here, because in the back matter has an interview with Scott Snyder. It has the variant covers here by Jim Chung and Mark Brooks. Absolutely stunning, Ben Oliver. And if you like that art, go and check out Odyssey. Seriously, that's the underrated series of this. And there's no Omni of that. It's just 4 trade paperbacks. And Jim Lee pencil covers. Jim Lee doing a lot of the variants towards the beginning of the Justice League. And then you have the sketchbook here by Francis Manapul. And the different teams. The Wisdom, the Wonder, the Mystery, and Entropy. And of course, the sketches of the covers and your end sheets. Now let's look at the binding. 776 pages. It is sewn binding and printed in this, it's like a satin type of paper that they've been using for a while. And so this is the way that it lays over. And there is just a little bit of gutter loss. Not much, honestly, but just a little bit happening. Sometimes you have to hold it down. We've seen worse and we've seen better. And as far as the bleed through, there's very minimal bleed through happening. It's mainly the whites, but here you go. And what I want to do really quick, since I have the deluxe editions, there was no deluxe edition again of the No Justice, but since I have the deluxe editions, I kind of just want to give you an idea as to what this looks like. So these were printed in this matte paper stock, almost like newsprint type of paper stock. But let's look here, and you can just see how the colors are absorbed by this type of paper stock compared to this. Again, this is that almost like a newsprint type of paper, but it is matte. And the binding, again, just showing you the differences in the gutter loss. It's a little more over here, but it's also, I think, better paper stock. It's hard not to compare every single Jim Chung page. Okay, so this kind of gives you an idea, again, of the gutter loss. It's a little bit better over here. Of course, it only, has the first 13 issues. Over here, you have a lot more. So just a little bit. And holding it down here. Holding it down, you can see almost all of it. But that is it. That is Justice League by Scott Snyder and James Tynion, the 4th Omnibus Volume 1. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. and of course where it fits into the reading order of Justice League in Omni format, or if you have the oversized hardcovers. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button. And that's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.